So Ramon, we need some ideas for intro sequences for the San Francisco episodes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so what if it's like us on the streets of San Francisco?
Have you seen The Ignition Show? Do you know where The Ignition Show is? Do you know where The Ignition Show is, sir? The Ignition Show? Ignition Show? No? All right. Thanks, man. All right, thanks. Do you know where The Ignition Show is? Yeah. Do you know where The Ignition Show is? The Ignition Show? No?
No. Welcome to The Ignition Show, a weekly show by Infusionsoft where we take one question to help a small business grow their business. I'm Ramon Ray.
And I'm Ellis Friedman.
And Ellis, please let people know, how can they contact The Ignition Show?
You can email blog@infusionsoft.com.
Awesome. So let's get the show on the road and tell us, what is our question of the day?
Our question of the day is from Henry. I've only ever worked for startups and small business. Now that I have a startup of my own with 4 employees, the things I used to do to stay organized and efficient just aren't working anymore. But I don't know how larger startups scale their processes, and more specifically, I don't know how to get my team on board to help us scale ours. Do you have any suggestions on how we can better communicate, capture ideas, and plan next steps as our business grows?
Wow, that's a lot of amazing questions we get to The Ignition Show.
That's a big question.
It is a huge question. Thankfully, we don't have to answer that question.
Not ourselves, we don't.
We don't. Today we have Simran Sadati, who is the Executive Director of Letter Form Archive, which is a nonprofit organization which has a library of typography and design. Welcome to today's show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So Sim, where would you start with Henry's question?
I would say overall, as a startup grows and wants to scale, maybe the best way to think about this, to scale up, slow down. There are different ways you can do this, thinking about your people. You have 4 employees, Henry. You've hired these rock stars to work with you. Think about them. Think about how you can leverage their skills, how each individual brings different things to the table, and how you can have empathy and bring them on enthusiastically and individually. There are also great tools, which I'm happy to talk about, and some processes, too, that I have in mind. So happy to get into all of those things one by one.
Great. Well, let's get into some of those tools then.
Okay, so I'd say, first of all, having good tools to document what you're doing and capture ideas is really, really useful. And it also will take some of the work out of admin for you. So one tool that I love using, and I've used it in previous roles as well as at this one, is called Trello.
Oh, we use Trello for our blog.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so then you know exactly what I'm talking about, but just to kind of give an overview, Trello is sort of like a Post-it note wall. It's very flexible. It allows you to create little note cards that you can put on lists and then move them around just by clicking and dragging them. And what that does is it gives you a flexible, interactive, collaborative tool where you can chart out anything from your entire company's roadmap for the next 18 months to a specific project and kind of divvy up who does what. And Ellis can have a column, and Ramon can have a column, and Sim can have a column, and each of us has our tasks laid out. Or it can just be my to-do list, personal, professional, admin, that sort of thing. And I would also say Zen Payroll.
Zen Payroll?
Yep. This is not something that all of your employees will use as admins, but trust me, it will surprise and delight them. You get to set it up. It's super easy. You don't need a voided check the old-fashioned way. You just go online, you put in your information. The brilliance is when you get your first paycheck and it says, "Hey Sim, you've just been paid. Isn't today a beautiful day with a picture of butterflies and flowers?"
Beautiful day.
Yeah, it is a beautiful day. I just got paid today. It's a beautiful day. And I think that just bringing people into a place where they're happy to come to work and happy to be at work is a great way to get people invested and not be renters but owners of the processes that they're going to be in charge of. So I would say those are just two that I use myself.
So that can really help Henry with not having to worry about some of the other things with accounting or payroll, just get it all in one place.
It reduces your overhead in terms of time, energy, and even money. Zen Payroll is cheaper than any other alternative I've seen. Trello is free.
Okay, so what are some like in-office things that Henry can do to start scaling his processes and getting people like on board?
So I think, I was saying earlier that I think slowing down is a great way to scale up. It sounds very paradoxical and idealistic, and you're thinking, oh God, I work overtime already. I don't have time for this. But it's much easier to get to the prize if you have your eyes on that prize, right? You really want to know where you're going. You want to understand that you're doing it the right way. And most importantly, you want to know and believe that you have your employees, your whole team on board with you. Because part of the process of growing is getting to consensus and then sticking with it, not having someone say, well, I said that we should do it this way.
But where does the slowdown come in? I mean, you have to move forward. This sounds maybe like you can get delved into a discussion and you never move. How do you balance the two?
So I have a good model that I've been using for the last year and a half, both in a previous role and now again as executive director of Letterform. It's the Google Ventures design sprint model. And the way that it works is you bring everybody into the room, and this is great because it scales up or down. You could have 4 employees or 15. You could have a whole team do it, or your entire payroll, everyone on the payroll come in and do it. And what you do at the beginning is you give everybody a little bit of quiet time to brainstorm. No bad ideas, write everything down on a Post-it. I love Post-its. Write everything down on a Post-it with a big magic marker and stick it up on a wall. That allows everybody to have, it's not like you'll just have one loud voice in the room or deathly silence. Everybody has quiet time to think. Then you have people come around with little dots or little stars or little even magic markers, vote on their favorites. So this is the convergence angle of it, where first you've gone out. And you'll find, I think, that it's not that one person who has all the good ideas. People will gravitate towards certain things, and you'll see that usually all parts of the company are represented. So all of your employees have something in them that they can bring out and have their colleagues come to consensus on. Then you can talk about how to validate it. You talk about why did you guys pick this? Why does this have 3 favorites and this one have 5? Or what's the best way to go for it? And then from there you can prototype and test with your users, because then you have something that's validated by the team. And you've brought out the individual talents, the different perspectives. And I think it works really well, as I said, for any type of project that you're working on.
And I've seen that work before, because you can look at the wall and you instantly see, wow, things 1, 5, and 8, everybody loves them.
Right.
And move forward.
Right.
Or not, but I've seen that.
It's also tremendous validation, not just of the best ideas, but of the people who brought up those ideas.
I love it.
Yeah, and it'll really get people invested.
We can use that for Ignition Show. I mean, we can put our ideas on the wall, and you can vote for my ideas and just put all the...
vote for my ideas.
Yeah, I guess I could do that too.
Well, so how often should teams be doing these sprints?
I think that's a really good question, Ellis. It would sort of depend on the company, right? It depends on how often you feel like you need to iterate on something new to improve a process, or when you have something you're working on from scratch. As I said, the good thing about the design sprint is it works in a range of different situations. But it's also not the kind of thing that you want to rely on as a crutch, like, oh, hey, this didn't work, let's go back to the drawing board.
Let's meet some more.
Let's meet some more. You don't want to get stuck in meetings. You actually, Google Calendar has this fantastic tool. It's a lab that's called 25-minute meetings, and so you don't do 30 minutes. You can schedule any length of meeting you want. Don't get stuck in meetings. But take this time out as a sprint to find the path to the next thing. Don't keep coming back to the sprint if something's not working. Iterate from where you're stuck, right? Don't get, we have to start all over. Be confident in the good ideas that you guys have had thus far, and then take it from there.
Awesome. I think that's great advice.
Wow.
Sim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching Ignition. As I said, a weekly show by Infusionsoft where we take one question to help your small business grow. I'm Ramon Ray. And Ellis, tell us again, how can people reach the Ignition Show?
You can email blog@infusionsoft.com.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out ignitionshow.com to watch past episodes of Ignition and future ones that Ellis and I are going to be doing.